centered or not. The size of boxes calculated using variables. So this was a case which came actually really also from the support queue, and it was about a file similar like this one, which you see it has the trim box somewhere in the middle and around some kind of margin. As you may see that the margin at the top and the bottom is slightly bigger than on the left and on the right. So we have a check for that. Toolbox has a lot of checks, and we have a check for this as well, which is called trimbox is centered inside media box. You can just define it. It says it is true or is it not true, and when you run the check, something will happen. So this is something I want to show you here. We have this file here, of course, done by David, so it has to be deal with penguins. What else do you expect? So when you check it, you will get hits for all 5 pages. You see, but when you have a look at that file, they all look similar. Yeah, this is the reason, because we have no tolerance in that check. And the margin between here on the left and the right side is slightly bigger at the top. So that's also the problem explained. We have no tolerance in that check. And even if the centering is off by 1 point, you would get an error. So what can we do there? We can, of course, use JavaScript. You know, pdfToolbox, callas, we are talking about nothing else than JavaScript since we invented this in pdfToolbox 9, because we are still excited about all the great possibilities using JavaScript in a variable. So also in this case. The condition to use is a little bit different. It's horizontal offset of trim box for media box, and this condition checks if the distance distance on the left, so from the lower left corner of that PDF, how far is that offset of the trim box to the media box. And the JavaScript variable which we introduce here checks for the distance on the right. So we compare the distance from the left to the distance towards the right from the trim box. So let's have a look on that. No, we don't want to see the loophole now. Let's do that check. It's called here this one, and okay, great. Green check mark, we are done. This was the first example. No, of course not. To create a check which doesn't fire is not that complicated. But so let's have just a look inside that file. We have here the horizontal offset of trim box from media box and the vertical offset of trim box from media box. So we check in both directions. Have activated here these fire if any condition is met property. This means if one of these conditions fire, one of these properties fire, this check will result in an error. So what we are doing here in this JavaScript variable is rather simple. We are determining 2 values. First, the media box. I hope you can see it here in the first line. That's simply app.doc pages 0 for the first page of the media box, and then the same for the trim box. And then we reduce the media box size from the trim box size towards the right. And then we have the margin between the media box and the trim box. Some of you will think, will this work always? Yeah, there is, of course. We have a slightly different file where we want to have a closer look before. So we have the first page, the second page, the third page. The fourth page is slightly wider, but it's still properly centered in horizontal and vertical direction. And the last page is not working there. So when we run this check, now it will fire on page 4. This is something, yeah, most of you would have maybe expected, because, yeah, we are checking, not expected, because we are checking left, right. So we compare the right with the left and the top with the bottom. So why does it fire? Yeah.
And this is the same check that did not fire anything in the first file.
Exactly. When I run this one on the one where all 5 pages are identical, you see it, I scroll down here, I scroll through here. When I run an analysis, I don't find one, it says everything is fine. And on this one, where one page is slightly wider but still centered somehow, so it should not fire, it fires for that page. Why? We deducted it for the right and, yeah, take it into account for the left. Yeah. So why does it result in an error? We'll have a closer look in the JavaScript variable again. So you see we have here a 0, and all of those who are a little bit familiar with JavaScript knows that 0 means, yeah, the starting number. So we are checking here for the first page in the document. That's the problem. We are comparing the amount on the right side for. We are evaluating these margin and using this dimension for checking all the pages. And on page 4, on the right, the margin is bigger, and we compare it still to a smaller value. This doesn't work, of course. So, David, I have to blame him, found a wonderful solution. No, I will not blame him. It's really clever what he's done there. And he invented this check into a process plan. So let's see what he has done here. Here's the process plan, check, trimbox, centered. And when I run this on this specific file where one page has a wider media box, it runs through and no errors. You see the green check mark here at the top. No error occurs. So what have we done there? Let's have a closer look inside this process plan. I'll enlarge it a little bit. So we start with the first step, which is a variable. We can have a brief look inside. Let's see. This sets the current page. It simply creates a variable, so to say. It says the current page is the first page. Okay. Then the first check says trimbox not centered in media box. What does this check do? We are also using the horizontal offset of media box from trimbox. And let's have a look inside that variable again. It's rather simple. The first 2 lines we can ignore. It simply says that we require, or that this JavaScript requires this var current page, which we had created in the first step. But now the calculation start, and this calculation is quite similar to the one we already have seen. It says the media box. And then we get it not from the 0, which we had before, which always took the first page, but from the current page minus 1. Minus 1, I already explained it, because JavaScript starts with 0 as the first page, and yeah, we humans start with 1, and as I introduced, the current page is 1 for a reason which we will see in a second. I have to deduct it from the current page. So for the first page, this means current page is 1, minus 1 is 0. So this expression gives the value for the first page, for the media box and the trim box. Nothing else is changed here. Okay. we added also something in this check, because the sequential page number, which simply use again the var current page, in this case 1. We don't have to deduct it by 1, because this sequential page number check checks the real visible human page number, so it starts at 1. And the same is done then for the vertical. So why do we cannot combine it? Quite simple. In the other check we had the vertical and the horizontal offset combined, but and then the fire, if any condition is met, activated. So yeah, if I would add here in this check, for example, to the vertical check also the horizontal check, and would activate the fire if any condition is met checkbox, it will always fire also because the page number matches. Clear, Akash?
Yeah.
Perfect. Okay. I just want to make sure that at least he have understood what I have said. Okay. So we are doing it separately because we cannot and or combine and or ors, so to say, these Boolean expressions here. So, and at the last step, what we are doing here, because this is something which a process plan allows, since we introduced it, I think, in pdfToolbox 7 or 6 already, you can loop inside a process plan. So you can, in theory and in practice as well, create a loop so that this process plan will never come to an end, which is normally not what anybody wants, because pdfToolbox would run until, yeah, the power is switched off also. But in this case, it makes sense. We're going to the last step, and then we continue with the next step when one expression is valid. So we use this current page, which is 1 in this case, and add 1 to it, so increase the number. And we do it as long as the current page number is not bigger than the total number of pages in that document. So we create a loop over all pages. And this is how this process plan works. Rather simple, but somehow very, very intelligent. And so this works.